Khamzat Chimaev will be a disaster of a champion should he get the belt from Dricus. Have you guys heard this? Now, a lot of people have shared this thought. It was Coach Den Thomas that came out and said it to the world. But then Coach Thomas laid out his reasons why, and it was nothing personal. He didn't have a begrudgance with Chimaev, and he wasn't buddies with Dricus. He was just looking at the board. He says, you know what? It's very hard to get Chimaev to the ring. Chimaev has pulled out of more fights than anybody in his short tenure here in the UFC. To have a champion who you can't count on, let alone that you are depending on, and on a short notice notification pulls out of a fight, said this would be a disaster. So, which I certainly couldn't disagree that scenario is not wonderful, would be a lot to deal with. The promotion, the fans, the boys in the back are going to be upset by that. I'm just wondering if that, in fact, is what is happening here. Chimaev fought two guys in 1 week. That was the day he became famous. And he even fought and beat both those guys in the first round. Oh, should I mention, at different weight classes. He fought at 185, and 1 week later, he fought at 170. So he kind of came in as the last guy you could ever say, well, it's hard to get fights for this guy. Like, no. He actually came in and did what everybody else pretends that they will do. Be a company man, fight anyone, anytime. I don't need a game plan. I don't need to strategize. If you're always ready, then therefore I never have to get ready. What everybody pretends to do and say, Chimaev actually went out and did it. So how does he end up in that? The next Cowboy Cerrone, the next busiest guy. How does he go from that to we can't count on him? And I just want to tell you a little bit of what happened in between, because there was a world pandemic. And it affected all of us, but it physically affected some of us much greater. Not just losing your ability to smell. Not just swallowing and the taste was different. Not just having your stomach and your head hurt. There was people, including Chimaev, who almost lost their life. Chimaev was put on an incubator. It was doing the breathing for him because the rest of his body had shut down. So I just going to remind you, are we going to really use that against him? Like, is there any part of that where we're acting like I should have shook it off? Conor McGregor and a discolored pinky toe should have no bearing on your ability to walk into the cage and compete. But I never even heard that get brought up. And on this Chimaev stuff where I hear he doesn't show up to fights, well, that was the first one that he missed. But I don't ever hear anybody telling the timeline and that he thought he was going to lose his life. And after only 1 month on supervised hospital attention, was he able to recover from that? We get to another spot. Chimaev beats Kamaru Usman. Chimaev becomes the #1 contender. The match for the world title at 185 pounds, champion Sean Strickland, gets announced, which means that #1 contender we discussed gets an opportunity. But it turned out, in the fight with Kamaru Usman, Chimaev had broken his hand. So he would have loved to have the fight with Strickland. He'd have loved it been for the world championship. He loved everything about it. He just needed 3 more months so that they would cut the cast off of his hand. And those just aren't excuses. Those are reasons. Right? People, I would never make an excuse. Yeah, but sometimes you need to identify the reason. So Chimaev finds himself back at the bottom of the ladder, right? Because what he earned, a shot at the title. When you earn that shot at the title, all the UFC has to do is offer you a shot at that title. They have now satisfied their end of the bargain. It's not a call us when you're ready. It's not. It's now. You got the call. Boom. You're not doing it. This guy is. Business move forward. But with Chimaev, he had to go back and he had to do another #1 contenders match against another world champion in Rob Whittaker, and it did not last very long. And Chimaev came out of that, and he was like the darling. He resurrected and saved grappling. Jiu-jitsu from all over the world was trying to take credit. Catch wrestling was trying to take credit. The ground fighters are back, and they try to take credit. But now there's this dialogue that Chimaev might not show up. Oh, and don't forget the third thing, guys. It wasn't just the broken arm. It wasn't just the respirator during COVID-19. He also had travel restrictions put on him. And it wasn't even directly due to him the way the story's told. It was his family. He married a gal, and that gal had a relation to another guy, and that guy was on the banned list. Like, it was something where how this is sticking to Chimaev in the first place is very bizarre. Very tough way to go. You want to be world champion? You've sacrificed but you can't get to the location. It's a very tough spot. I felt like we should have shown some remorse and had grace for Chimaev. But even if we don't have that, can we agree with all of his problems? He worked through them. He's on a bed. They don't know if he's going to live. He did get out of that bed. He's got a broken arm. They don't know if he can ever get back up. He beats a world champion. So now without a world pandemic, without a broken arm, and without restriction to travel, he will be in Chicago. And should he win, I believe that he will defend as actively and as reasonably as anybody else. And I don't think the idea that Chimaev agrees to fights and pulls out more than anybody else is fair. If you have a broken arm, you're not going to fight. If you're on a respirator, you're not going to fight. If the fight is in Kentucky and your travel inabilities don't allow you to get to Kentucky, you're not going to fight. I think that's reasonable. I think that sounds right. And it's exactly what's been holding up Khamzat Chimaev.